Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Baked Book. It is day 14 of Vlogmas, and today I want to talk about nicotine. I mentioned this in my wrap-up briefly, and I talked about how I wanted to do a book talk about it, and I got pretty good response. A lot of people said that they wanted to hear my rants about this book. So starting off, this book started out really good and tender. Our main character is Penny, and she's helping her father basically through the hospice process. Really intimate and just like the thoughts about death, and I thought I was really gonna like it. And I really liked Penny. But then her dad dies, they have some property, and she's like, okay, I'll check it out. She heard that there's squatters there. She's like, okay, I'll like infiltrate it and kick them out. And she ends up like befriending the squatters, staying within the community. And some of the parts about the squat community I really liked. There was like an overarching branch that oversaw all the other different squats, but there were a lot of parts that I didn't like. For example, everybody had money for some reason. And I think that's kind of like, I feel like they're all kind of like trust funds, and like there was one girl who always had like a credit card and we didn't know why. And then there was like another girl who was pretty much in like a sexually abusive relationship. And it just made them all seem like idiots. Like every single character in this book was an idiot. Like there was one person who was supposed to be asexual, but then it turned out he was just self-conscious because he had a small dick. There are people out there who are asexual and who do identify about that. And I think it's important to have those characters in your story and not just pretend to have them and then, you know, like halfway through switch it to be like, oh no, he's just self-conscious about his dick. He really likes girls. It really bothered me, and I was like digging it at first. I was like, oh cool, like an asexual character, I really like it. But then, you know, that didn't go along with the love story. And so that went on. And then like another girl in the house, in the Nicotine house, that's the name of the squat, she had a sugar daddy that was Penny's brother. And they just had like this really messed up relationship, and they ended up ruining the house. Like they had to evacuate the squat. And then she was still like hooking up with this dude. So after like they ruined the house, they were like, where should we go? Let's just go to Oakland. There's lots of squats in Oakland. Lacking like any original thought. Like these characters were just characters. They were not real at all. They were just like caricatures almost of what like people think that the activist community looks like. And I just, being a person that has squatted and knows a lot of people who are and were involved in that community, I was just kind of annoyed. I was very annoyed during the whole thing and probably a little offended, honestly. This is just very fake. There were a couple things that I did like and I identified with, strangely enough. So one of Penny's brothers actually was a photographer living in New Caledonia, which is cool because that's where my dad was born and I still have a lot of family there, and I've been. But he was like this multi-millionaire living in New Caledonia, and that's just not that kind of island. Like, I feel like the author probably hasn't been there or knows about it, because half of the land belongs to natives and then the other half of the land is like still pretty native run. I just feel like it was kind of like a poor choice for this guy to be like a photographer, and I feel like she just kind of like went to a map and like was like, that one, yeah, that one. But she was just trying to be like a little too obscure, and it just didn't add up for me. Just like the story was about Penny's dad, because he seemed like pretty radical. He had like this ayahuasca type temple thing in Manaus, which is cool, which is another place that I strangely know. It's like deep in the Amazon, and my dad spent like a month there when I was growing up. Her dad had a like healing clinic in Manaus for people that were like terminally ill, and kind of did ayahuasca and detoxed, I think. She was like explaining this to like the people at the squat, and they were like, oh my god, I never heard of ayahuasca before. A small thing, but it seemed very unlikely that somebody would not know ayahuasca but be squatting, because usually it's like, you know, it's kind of like hand in hand. It's kind of like this holistic life view and rejection of mainstream by going through natural plant-based remedies. Probably the most annoying thing is that the author assumed that Hillary Clinton won the election, and now like there's no place in this book from now on for like these fake activists to live, because right now it's gonna be 2017 in a few days and we don't have room for that. And this is just kind of like she set herself up for failure. Like, you can't assume anything, especially about like a political election. Like, plot twist, your girl didn't make it and now your book doesn't make sense. Another thing that really annoyed me is nobody was really like an activist. They went to like protest sometimes, but they weren't like actively involved in anything, which is pretty rare. Especially in order to stay in one of these squats, you have to be an activist. And there was like one protest they went to, and then they went to housing meetings. One political action that they did do is like a girl at the other house, she was like scaling the New World Trade Tower, or the Freedom Tower or whatever, and then she got arrested, and then they were gonna plan another action, and they literally brought up this girl's mom as an excuse to not do a political action. Like, you're squatting. You could go to jail for squatting. Like, it's very radical, and it's pretty illegal for the most part in the United States. So just for the fact that they were like discouraged by somebody's mom, it just seems so out of touch. Like, pretty much like this whole book was just really out of touch for me, but trying to be in touch, and it was just kind of like, ugh. Anyway, that's all for this rant/review. I'm gonna do another one because I have been reading some good books that I did like, and I think people would appreciate to know like good book reviews, because that's what I'm here for, you know, have some balance in it. But I'm gonna do like a top 10 coming up soon, top 10 books I've read this year, because I've read some pretty good books. Okay, so that's all for now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all on the 15th, tomorrow, for, yeah, the 15th day of Vlogmas. So, bye. This is some mail that I got from Shelby, and it should be some questions about Vlogmas.